Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. I'm Stephanie West. I'm an LPC here in the state of Michigan. Back in June of 2022, I did a video on a ruler as a visual for what if you get derailed from your goals. Now, I want to take another visual and kind of lay it alongside of that really is supposed to help really push back against perfectionism, right? So the ruler said, so 12 inches is those 30 centimeters. And so let's say I have 3 bad days in the month. That's only 10% of my month. I've still done really, really well. 90% sticking to goal, adhering to goals is fantastic. But I want to superimpose kind of another idea, another visual on that. And that's up on the board here. The idea of perfectionism is one that says, theoretically, I can run an 11.5-minute mile, but I want to be a super sprinter. I want to be just top of my game. I want to do something like running a 6.5-minute mile. Now, some of you are like, Steph, that's not all that impressive. I assure you, if I could run 6.5 minutes for a mile, it would be incredibly impressive. With my joints, with my history, with my skill set. I'm very clumsy, it doesn't work for me. But it's just not feasible that I would run a 6.5-minute mile. So several years ago when I started actually running miles at a time, I started around 11.5 minutes the first time. So I was pretty non-conditioned, but I really wanted to get better. Now, what happens when I say I am at 11.5 minutes and I want to run a 6.5-minute mile? I'm going to give up pretty quickly if my only metric for success is reaching a 6.5-minute mile. If this is what I've convinced myself my full potential is, anything short of that is really discouraging, really frustrating, because perfection says I have to do to the nth degree. I have to do it better than everyone else. I have to reach my peak potential or else I've somehow fallen short. And a lot of times, if we're not reaching our peak potential, whatever our perception is, we just give up the process because we're like, well, I can't be perfect, so I'm going to be nothing instead. That's a horrible philosophy. That's a non-productive philosophy. It's a really big faulty philosophy. What was really cool is over the course of running probably to the tune of about 6 months, not consecutive, that would have been exhausting. Over the course of running 2 or 3 days a week for about 6 months, I went from an 11.5-minute mile down to, at my fastest, it was a 5K with an average of about 9:27 for the mile. So I could run 3.1 miles and I could keep my pace at about 9.5. So if I had done just 1 mile, I think I could get it around 8.5 minutes, maybe 8 minutes. That's a really substantial amount of improvement. I went all the way from over here down to about here and reached a potential I didn't know I had. Now, did I reach what I wanted the peak to be? No, but that was an illogical set anyway. That wasn't something I was probably going to be able to achieve. But if I had given up at the onset saying, oh, why bother? I'll never get 6.5 minutes. Look at what I would have sacrificed. I would have sacrificed incremental growth, taking me to new spaces of potential, new spaces of, setting goals, achieving goals. And I went through that cycle again and again, and I got stronger and more confident because I kept showing up and just said, let me see how far I can push it. Let me see how far I can push it. I was not going to get to 6.5 minutes. If that stopped me from engaging the process, what a loss, because then I don't even get to see what my potential is. My job with my fitness goals, with my nutrition goals, my job with my financial goals, my job with my relationship goals, I want to see what I can get out of them. I want to see how far I can take health, how much I can show up in them. And perfection is never the goal because that's not a thing. But showing up consistently and seeing a modicum of improvement week after week, month after month, year after year, I'm going to sign up for that every time. Because while it might not get me to whatever the perception of perfection is, it makes me a stronger, healthier, more emboldened version of myself because I just keep showing up. And I show up consistently over time and I get little wins along the way. And I do it in a whole host of areas of life. That's a really cool thing to tap into. Perfection is not a place we want to arrive because once we land there, we realize that that wasn't the goal anyway. It wasn't about reaching perfection. It was about filling some void. And arriving at the finish line doesn't fill the void. If we keep showing up in our lives, if we keep showing up towards purpose, towards meaning, towards accomplishing things, towards connection, those are things I can get behind because those are things that keep me checked into wellness. Perfection's not a thing. Also for me, a 6.5-minute mile, not a thing. But I can do 8.5 minutes. I can get there by showing up time after time, month after month, maybe year after year. I can make cool improvements along the way. But it's never going to be perfect, and I have to wrestle that out and get okay with that if I expect to have any success at all.